Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today we'll cover another discussion about how to be a decent writer. You can be fabulous, but what I'm going to talk about today will definitely be the key to your success. I can just about guarantee it. But first, I would like to introduce you to someone. See that tiny little black and white speck there? That's a baby skunk, one of two. Mom is on the other side of the fence to the left as you're facing the skunk. And she was probably keeping a very close eye on her babies. Margie had seen the other one a couple, 3 days ago and didn't bother to tell me. I love baby animals of all kinds. I don't care if it's a skunk, a badger, a dragon. I don't care. Babies are adorable. And this one was just diddy bopping in the yard, grubbing for worms. Hopefully, if they come back, I'll have some video for you next week. You can actually see them in action. We also have a crap ton of stray cats. Some of them are friendly-ish. One's really friendly. We call him Old Man. He's an old boy, and it started last summer. We started feeding him because he was so friendly and he was sweet and he loves attention, but you can't scratch his belly. You can't scratch his belly. He does not like his belly messed with. I got warned not to do it again, so I won't. But yeah, he'd been floating around for a while, so Margie started feeding him. And then another couple cats came in and she started adding bowls. And another couple cats came in, she started adding bowls. Tried to set up a shelter for them so that they could eat out of the rain when it's raining really hard. But then she realized, we'll just clean out the shed and we'll put the food in there. That way they have full protection, they have shelter, and they can chill out in there if they want to. And so we've probably got, we've got Old Man, we've got a new one. I call him Panther because he's all black except for tiny little tufts of white hair on his chest, and he moves like a panther. He's got that reddish color in his coat like Old Man does, so we think maybe dad and son or dad and daughter. They all of them are spraying, so we don't know which is which, and we can't get close enough to them to check. We have Creamsicle, orange and white. We have Harry. Margie named him Harry because he's all black with big green eyes. Can you guess? We also have Running Cloud, which is a gray and white cat, and Troublemaker, which is another black cat who, again, not sure if it's male or female, but who seems to think he's the king daddy of the yard. Old Man and he have gotten into a couple of dust ups, so he gives Old Man a wide berth. Yeah, Old Man is the real troublemaker. This is his yard, his place. He established this as his turf, and he's not happy with new kids on the block. So, yeah. Oddly enough, the cats didn't seem to bother the baby skunks too much. Margie told me that Creamsicle walked up and sniffed at the cat for a minute, probably, or sniffed at the skunk for a minute, wrinkled his nose and walked away. But they watched the babies. I'm sure the cats understand that the babies do have some formidable weapons. Not only do they have their scent glands, which they can spray. No, I had a dog. This is related, but it's a side trip for a moment. We're going to wander down memory lane. We had 2 dogs, my husband and I, when we were living in a duplex in Lorraine. And they were wonderful dogs. Every dog we've had has been wonderful. Her name was Boo Boo. That's my husband's name for her. They were mixed breeds, of course, mutts. Heinz 57, as my dad would call them. And one day, Kenny was out early in the morning with the dogs, letting them do their business because he had to go to work. Boo Boo saw a skunk in the yard. Boo Boo went after the skunk in the yard. Boo Boo caught the skunk in the yard, shaking it vigorously in her mouth. She got covered with the stink. The skunk was smart enough to claw her face to make her let it go, and it ran off. Those claws narrowly missed her eye. If you've never been up close and personal with something that has been covered by skunk stench, the smell through the neighborhood when a skunk is startled is one thing. But when it's up close and personal inside your house for weeks on end, it is, oh dear God. We tried tomato baths. We tried everything to get rid of the stink. I'm here to tell you, everything they tell you on the internet and on TV about this is how you can get rid of... No, this is not how you can get rid of the smell. If it's in your clothes, throw away the clothes. They will never be the same. You will never get rid of that stink. Even if it finally fades, there will always be an understench attached to those clothes. It never goes away. She stank for weeks, no matter what we did to try to get rid of it. It slowly faded over time, but from that moment on, if you got close to her, you could still detect the slightest understink of that skunk on her skin. Unfortunately, our other pup, who was smart enough not to go near the skunk, had to suffer for it. We had to go out one day, and as we were leaving, Cammie, and we called her that because she was brindle colored, Cammie, like camouflage, she got up on the window and looked at us desperately, almost as if saying, "Oh no, Mom, please, Dad, don't leave me here with Stinky Butt," because that's what we had taken to calling her after that. And it was hysterical. But yeah, skunks are nothing to fuck with. I'm telling you. Nothing to fuck with. Anywho, but yeah, so hopefully next time I'll have video for you so that you can actually see the little critters. They're so cute. Oh my God, they're so cute. Okay, now on to the true reason for this video. My best advice to you when trying to think up a story or when trying to create something is to work from your own experience. As you've noticed, authors who base their books around their personal experience, their careers, whatever, are the most successful. John Grisham is a really good example. He was a lawyer, and he speaks from a place of experience. So his fictions are grounded in reality enough that they make them fascinating. And then you have the opposite end of the spectrum, Stephenie Meyer, whose Twilight stories are based off of a fan fiction she wrote. I'm not sure uh, what uh, what fandom she was writing for. I don't care to know. All I know is it was based off of a fanfic, as was 50 Shades of Grey. Uh, Only the names have been changed to protect their pocketbooks. But yeah, it's JKR. Just from reading her books, her Harry Potter series, we know she has very little experience with human interactions on a deeper level. Um, she has no idea what it's like to be an abused child. You can do all the research you want, you really can, but unless you've experienced that yourself, it's just from an intellectual perspective as opposed to a realistic perspective. And she has no idea how people act and react under certain circumstances in certain situations. Fantasy is all well and good, but if your characters are one dimensional, no matter how great the world is, the books are still a letdown because you can't get connected. You can't connect with the characters because they're just so flat, like the paper that they're written on. Um, I chose to dabble in the Harry Potter fandom because I've had experience with abuse. Uh, I love my father dearly. I will love him till the day I die. He was my hero because when the incubator decided it didn't want to be a mom anymore, it walked out on us. And David, Billy, and I were very, very young when it did this. So, and my dad was in Vietnam, so you can imagine it just walked away. Contacted its sister when it got far enough away that no one would be able to find it, and then things just went from there. Um, so yeah, uh, I love my dad dearly. He's my hero for coming home for giving up an Air Force career, 13 years in, to come home and take care of his kids. That's what a man does. However, he was also fairly uncommunicative. He didn't talk much. He was distant at best. And when we were younger, um, when we irritated him, and we did it a lot because we're little kids will do that. It's just the nature of the beast. Because when we irritated him too much, he lost his shit. And Dad would buy Hot Wheels for Billy and David, the racetracks and all. He would buy them for my brothers, keep them entertained. And when he got pissed off, he would use those tracks right there, to beat us. Those tracks right there. If they weren't handy, it was a switch that we would have to go out into the yard and get for ourselves. I'm sure some of you have experience with that. All right, go out and cut me off a switch and strip it and bring it in, and you better not get something that you know. So yeah, or he would use his hand. As we got older and we settled down a bit, and he spent more time at work, he hired babysitters to keep an eye on us. at least 3 of those babysitters were also abusive. Um, when a young woman named Christine Cross was babysitting us, Dad was on swing shift, 5 days, 5 days afternoon, 5 days nights. He worked for the water department. And this was at night. It was bedtime. We were in bed. Billy and David shared a room. I had my own. Billy and David would be giggling and laughing and horsing around, and she would get pissed off and start screaming up the stairs. She screamed up the stairs, "If you guys don't settle down, I'm going to come up there and beat you all asses." The boys did not settle down. So she came up with something in her hand, went into the boys' bedroom, and wailed on them. Then she came into my room. Billy and David were both yelling, "Hey, Tina didn't do anything. She didn't do anything." She didn't care. She came in to my room and wailed on me. So yeah, I have experience with abuse. When we got old enough where I was babysitting, David was going through some stuff. I didn't know this. None of us knew this because he didn't say anything. He had discovered that he was gay, and it was the 70s. It was a very, very, very difficult time to be different in the 70s, and to be that different in the 70s. And he was terrified to say anything to anybody. Dad would have, he wouldn't have gotten rid of David. He wouldn't have thrown David out because he was only like 12 or 13 when he figured it out. But Dad would have made David's life miserable. He would have shut himself off completely from David. He would have criticized him and embarrassed him because Dad was a bigot. I'll be the first one to say it. Dad was a bigot. I didn't understand then, but I understand a little bit better now why you can not be comfortable around certain types of people. It has nothing to do with skin color, it has everything to do with attitude and behavior and how they comport themselves. There's a difference between decent people and shitty people, and they come in all races, creeds, and colors. Just saying. But there's no reason to single out a specific culture because of a couple bad apples in that culture. Anywho, so one day he was hovering outside my bedroom door. I was probably 14 when he was doing this, and I valued my privacy. I had so very little of it. My room was my sanctuary. And I yelled down to Dad a couple times to ask him to make David go away. Apparently I did it one too many times because he came storming upstairs, and instead of doing something to make David leave, instead of doing something to correct the situation, he came into my room and slapped me across the face hard, and told me, "Stop bugging me with this bullshit. Don't call for me again or you'll really get something." That was probably the first time I actually realized Dad was not perfect after all. He thought that I should bow to David's whims no matter what. He used to always get on my ass about that. And no, just no. David turned into a real shit when he hit his teenage years. He was such an obnoxious bastard. Oh my God. Anywho, so I'm very familiar with abuse. I'm very familiar with how it makes the child feel. I'm very familiar with how horrible the child feels because they feel that they're to blame for that punishment. It's my fault. I shouldn't have been like that. When uh, dad was just hitting us out of anger, he wasn't teaching us anything. It wasn't discipline, it was punishment. There's a difference. When you discipline someone, you are giving them a lesson as to what they're doing wrong and why they shouldn't be doing it, and possibly different ways to approach whatever situation it is that they've been entangled with. Punishment is just, lashing out of anger. Twice in my life since my daughter was born, twice I lashed out at her in anger. The first time was we were living with my dad at the time, and he got us some bunk beds so Margie and I could share the same room. And she was whining and wouldn't let me go to sleep. So I came down off the top bunk and across the face. I was on the floor next to her on my knees, instantly apologizing profusely for that. She was all of what? Maybe 3, maybe? Apologizing profusely for that because, oh my God, I had never lashed out at her in anger before. I promised myself I wouldn't do that, and I did that. And then the second and last time I did it was when she was 6. She was going to school. I was trying to get her. Was working overnights at a fast food restaurant, and I was trying to get her to put her friggin' shoes on, and she just kept fighting me. So I slapped her across the face again, left another bruise, and she went to school, and then came home, and we got a call from Children's Services saying there was a bruise on her face. It was reported. We're going to come talk to you and see what's going on. And they closed the case, fortunately, but that second time told me I needed to get a handle on it. I needed to get a handle on it right frickin' now. And I never laid my hands on her again that way. But when she was 16, she was skipping school, and she had been missing overnight. So I called the sheriff's department. They found her in an abandoned house in another city, another town, with a bunch of boys. She tells me nothing happened. I'm choosing to believe her on that. But when she started getting in my face with an attitude, I grabbed her by the coat, yanked her against the wall, got in her face, and told her if she ever did anything like that again, I would kill her. I told her that she's lucky I didn't go ahead and have her put in juvie for what she did. Don't do it again. And she calmed down and didn't do it again, to my knowledge. It's hard telling what goes on in a teenager's head these days. But I did my best with very little help from her father. He, too, was an absent father. Not physically, just, he couldn't relate to her, just like Dad couldn't relate to me. And so he left most of the child rearing to me. And I was working and taking care of the house, taking care of the kid, doctor's appointments, and everything else. You know how a guy goes to work, comes home, goes down to the basement to his little bar and has a few while he watches sports. That's his life. Mom's life is, everything else. So, anywho, write from your own experiences. Nothing is more appealing than knowing that the person who's writing the story, who's involving themselves in that world, understands at a visceral level what that world represents, understands how those people should be acting in that world, understands how situations should fall out in that world. Lawyers who write courtroom dramas, former cops who write police procedurals. Why do you think for shows like Law and Order and other shows like that they have consultants on standby to help them base what they're doing more in reality so people will connect with it better? It's hard to connect with something that doesn't relate to the world as you know it. That's all there is to it. So make sure that whatever you're writing about, whatever fandom you're writing in, whatever you're writing about, that not only are you intimately familiar with the fandom itself, but you're intimately familiar with the topics that you're writing about, that you understand them at a deeper level than just, oh, I looked it up on the internet, so that should do just fine. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. Because it lacks that humanity, that connection, that understanding that other people will gravitate to your story for. Because people want to read stories that relate to how they live, that relate to their own experiences as well, that connect with them in some way. And if you're not writing something that you've experienced yourself, they're not going to connect with your stories. They're not going to they're not going to feel comfortable reading your stories because they just don't click. All right? So, I've rambled on enough, and I shall see you all tomorrow. I will see you tomorrow, where we will talk about Batman.